The best thing that the earthers taught me was to embrace the suck. Gary Vee said the other day on this video, he even gets excited about like problems because he knows they're coming. It's like, well, I just gotta solve this new problem. It's like, you know, another shit sandwich. Or he says like, I expect there's gonna be a lot of shit eating on my days. Like, it's just part of it. Like, I am operating at this level. Shit is gonna happen, period. When you are an entrepreneur, you have to deal with your stuff, because if you're addicted to things like alcohol or drugs or women or sex, whatever the case may be, it forces you. You have to become better, because if not, you can't be an entrepreneur, period.
What have you learned from being in the Air Force that's like shaped who you are today?
I've said this many times, and I'll say it so many times. The best thing that the Air Force taught me was to embrace the suck. Because it's a common phrase in the military, because, you know, you're deployed, you're in Syria, like, you have to embrace the suck. And we do it together as brothers and sisters. And we're like, look, we're all in this together. We have to do it. This is our role. This is what we have to do. Yes, we're sleeping in tents, but hey, we have air conditioner. We have good bathrooms. That, you know, we have all these things that, like, it would have been a lot worse if you were in older times. Or even right now, like being a Marine and things like that, right? Like, that would be crazy. Special forces, all that stuff, which we were an oasis for a lot of the special forces, man. Like, they came to there because it's the biggest airline, airline in Syria. We had it. So, because, you know, we got there, and so we got all this, like, the special forces men that came to, like, oasis in there, because it was, like, northeast of Syria, so we're kind of far from the action. We have ice, we have a lot of perimeters, so it was like the oasis. People come to there. So even though I was in Syria, I was in the best that the Air Force and the military could offer in Syria, in the conditions. I mean, it's Syria, right? And in a like non-tourist, like just bunch of anything that we just built on there, right? Desert. So that's the biggest thing that I got, is because for entrepreneurship and life in general, but, you know, entrepreneurship being such a challenging thing, learning to embrace the suck is a great skill to have as an entrepreneur, because you're eating glass, like a lot of people call it, right? Like, you're constantly getting punched in the face, like spending so much time giving value to people, so for them to then say no or lie to you or ghost you or all these things, and you gotta wake up the next day and do it again and get better. And how can I get better at communicating and giving value and all that? So embracing the suck has been the best thing that I got out of the military, because I carry it to me to this day, and I will carry it for me to the rest of my life.
How do you embrace the suck? Is it simply just like tolerating and like being able to go through and, like, you know, feel the shitty feelings and move through that? Or is it like developing a sense of humor around it? Like, what is your version of like embrace the suck look like?
It's a combination. Definitely, because there's finding humor definitely helps. Because the idea of this is to, when you embrace something, you just take it as it is. And then I have this principle that from Bashar, that is to have a positive attitude regardless of what's happening, right? So when you combine look, let me just embrace this, it's not good or bad, it just is, and then you find ways to maintain or just have a positive attitude regardless of what's happening. Then you find humor, you just accept things and don't let it affect you. Finding ways to, like, make it a positive spin of, yeah, like, I'm so glad that this is happening, because it's preparing me for bigger challenges, right? Like, this challenge is nothing compared to the challenges that I actually want to have, because you can judge the size of a person by the size of their problems. Like, if you want to do big things, you will have big problems. And Gary Vee said the other day on this video that he even gets excited about, like, problems because he knows they're coming. Like, it's like, well, I just got to solve this new problem. It's like, you know, another shit sandwich, or, you know, there's just like, I know, he says, like, I expect to be there's going to be a lot of shit eating on my days. Like, it's just part of it. Like, I am operating at this level. Shit is going to happen, period. Like, I know, I accept it, and I find joy in it, because I am able to have this big problems because of where I'm at. Like, I'm blessed to have this problem. So I already know that I'm like another day, another like day eating shit sandwiches of shit that's gonna happen because it's part of it. Like, and I love that. I love that, and I take that, and that's a way to say like he's embracing the suck.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it makes me think a lot about like I had Daniel DiPiazza on my podcast. He's a podcaster and philosopher, entrepreneur and philosopher. And like one of the things that he was talking about was like people want to become an entrepreneur to like not have any bosses. But then the reality is like as an entrepreneur, like it's like everybody's your boss because you have all your employees you have to work for. You have like your other clients you're working for, right? It's just like kind of this endless place of serving other people in that position.
Yeah, you say like you don't want bosses, but then you ended up having to serve so many people. So it's like if you're a server, right? Think about it, right? Like I have my boss and I'm serving all like, and everybody's kind of your boss because you have to serve them. But so it's like that. Like it's you have the clients that you have to respond to. Then you have your employees looking at you as like, lead us, and then then you have if you have more responsibilities of like. You also have a life, right? Like you might have pets, you might have kids, you might have a wife, right? So like you have all these things going in more directions that sometimes if you are just an employee, you're kind of like, well, I have this one manager and then I can just focus a little bit more on my family and not having to worry about like serving all these crazy people, right? So definitely it's people have to understand that when you choose to be a leader and a boss, like you will be responding to a lot of people, because if not, then you won't get very far. Then you will become a self-employed, which is different. You're not a boss. You're not a real business owner if you're just being self-employed and serving just a couple of people, and then you're just giving a job to yourself and that's it.
Yeah. What's one of the things that like entrepreneurship has taught you over the last couple of years?
A lot of things. Has taught me to focus on myself, because the more that I can be healthy, the more knowledge, the more skills that I have, the more I can provide value, and then the more that comes back to me, because I'm putting all this energy out, and then I receive it back in many different ways, not just money, right? Money just being one way of abundance, but there's many ways to receive value and to attract abundance. And entrepreneurship has taught me to be a better communicator, has taught me to really just trust the process, be patient, and really just going so deep into spirituality, because for me at least was the only way to really find joy in all these challenges and just accept life as it is. Because I always kind of like felt special growing up, and I guess my family raised me a certain way, and I always have good grades and all these things that I felt blessed and I felt special. I felt like I'm destined for big things. And then when I came into entrepreneurship and I started failing so much, then you're like, maybe I'm not special. But then as I learned more about entrepreneurship and I learned from all these entrepreneurs, I was like, look, it's just about not quitting. Like, you will figure out along the way, just not quit, just be very honest with yourself and push and do the best you can, and trust, just go work hard, be intentional, but also do it with grace, do it with gratitude. And that's, got me into spirituality, which, make me the person that I am right now. Like, that I have so much depth and I can communicate so much better, and I can provide so much value by the lessons that I learned along the way in entrepreneurship, which are plenty, right? I mentioned some of them, which it's more fulfilling because I love feeling useful. So as an entrepreneur, you realize that there's infinite ways to be useful. So it's just a matter of find what you're passionate about and what you're willing to commit for a long period of time, and where you're willing to fail at for a long period of time too, and a lot of repetitions, and then just take it as further as you can take it, with no insistence of what the outcome should be. Let abundance come in any way. Keep a positive attitude, and continuously analyze your beliefs, and especially those that are related to fear, and let go to the ones that no longer serve you. And, entrepreneurship got me into that place.
Yeah, so it sounds like entrepreneurship was such a catalyst for you for change. Like even earlier you talked about that. It's like almost like the pressure of how difficult it is. Like let yourself get to a place of spirituality, which is kind of interesting, right? It's like some people find that through like AA, where it's like their problems with like alcohol or a substance might be so intense that like you have to like surrender to something bigger than yourself. But with you it was pardon me, like for you it was more almost entrepreneurship, right? This like movement towards something. It became so big that you had to find something bigger than yourself to tap into to propel yourself forward.
And now that you say this, it got me thinking, I could have stayed in the military and cruise. Like, to be honest, yes, I had to embrace the suck and all the different things. I mean, there was a lot of things that weren't that great. But I had a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, regardless if I worked or not. And so if you fly under the radar, do things in the few things that you are, and stay there. Like, you don't have to be the best overachiever. You just have to be good and be responsible and all that. And you can cruise. Like, you can cruise. Like, yeah, there's going to be times it's going to suck. But like everything, life, like entrepreneurship is hard. Being in the military is hard. Like having a job is hard. So just choose your heart, right? And I could have just stayed more comfortable in a way, knowing that I kind of belong to the government, but they will take care of me. Right? So when I went into entrepreneurship, you get forced to deal more with you, because you don't have like nobody telling you what to do. Nobody owns you, because in the military, they own you, and they literally can tell you, no, you're going to Syria. Oh, no, you're going here. Like, you got to do it, or you get thrown into jail and shit. Like, it's great. They own you. So when you are an entrepreneur, you have to deal with your stuff, because if you're addicted to things like alcohol or drugs or women or sex, right? Like whatever the case may be, you can kind of like still kind of stay addict, but then don't do it too much and not let it take over you, and then just kind of be in this survival, not thriving, but just kind of, man, I'm getting my paycheck, I'm getting stuff, I'll get kids and blah blah blah, and I have this, like, I don't want to insult anybody, but like kind of mediocre life, and look, if you're really happy and all that stuff with all those things, I'm not judging. I don't like, do you, like, if you like it and you have a good thing going on, great. But for me, that wasn't enough, period. It's just, I felt like I was not living up to my potential. And when I went to the entrepreneurship, and then I'm like, okay, it's me against me, and me trying to give value to people for them to pay me, and there's no guarantee. And just, so it forces you, like, you have to become better, because if not, you can't be an entrepreneur, period. Like, and you can't eat, like, you're not making money, you can't eat, like, you gotta get a job, like, you gotta do something. So that, putting myself in that, like, I either swim or drown, like, that's it. Like, I am, or like people say, like, jump out of the plane and build a parachute along, like, going down. That's kind of how I did it. I was like, I'm quitting. I'm getting out of the Air Force. I got this job, but then I quit that job, and I didn't even have recurring revenue. I just closed 2 5-figure deals, and I thought I was a shit. And then ended up hiring the wrong people, and I lost a bunch of money, and got to do refunds and all that. And I had to escape out of that. And there was times to me that I was like, I don't even know if I want to live anymore, because I didn't like the military, but looking forward, I always was looking forward to, I'm like, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. So the hope got me like going. So it's like, embrace the suck, it's gonna get better later. Embrace the suck, it's gonna get better later. But then it got to a point, it was like, okay, now I'm out of the Air Force. Now I'm doing this for myself. I thought that this was a dream, but it isn't. Like does life is really worth living? Like, I got to that point. Like, is it really worth living if I'm always suffering? So then I was like, there are ways for me to get out of here where I'm at right now, and that's what brought me to spirituality, and that's what, like, look, I have enough, I am exactly what I need to be, like, all these things had to happen, like my soul made this contract to really learn, so there's no bad people or wrong people, I just attracted them, I have these interactions because of a reason. So when I started changing that, I stopped being so hard on people, and I started just being, look, it's all my fault, it's all me, I'm the creator of my reality, nothing really matters, so I choose what matters. And basically the same things that I've been saying through this podcast that I live by.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, what I heard in that, right, is like you literally got to this point where, because I think with the military, right, it's like, okay, you have your next paycheck coming through, or like there's going to be the next thing. But like when you're going through entrepreneurship or any sort of dream chasing or anything without that, like at least perceived security, right? It's like you don't know what's going to be on the other side. I mean, I've definitely felt a lot of that with building this podcast or other work that I've done, where it's like, I don't know, is anybody listening to this? Is anybody paying attention? Is
it's going to be worth it, right?
Or am I going to spend 5 years of my life just without anything, right? And it can be terrifying. I think a lot of times that fear isn't really like talked about, because I think entrepreneurship gets glamorized a lot, and we talk about all these great things. And it's something I even really appreciate about Alex Ramosi, who we talked about a little bit last time and earlier in this podcast, is like him just sharing some of the things, like, if you've read like $100 million offers, I believe in the opening part of that, he talks about like, basically losing $100,000, and like, as he's about to like give up, and like it's his wife or his partner at the time who is just like, I would sleep with you under a bridge and I'd be with you, but like you need those people in your corner to get through this stuff, right? Whether it's like through spirituality and friendships and connections, because it can be so hard and scary when it's like it feels like the whole world is crashing around you. And like for me, I know that like what's been fascinating about like building this podcast and doing things is like every time I get to that moment and I get through it, it's like the universe, like I feel like gives me like another wink, like the next episode just does really, really well, or there's something else that happens, or somebody comes and speaks to me about the impact that had on their life or whatever it would be, right? And there's just like these little things that I'm like, okay, cool. Like I feel like that's that divine wink that I'm like on.
I love it, divine wink. I haven't heard that one before, but I say signals and things, but the wink, I like it.
Yeah, I got that one from Jim Carrey. He talks about like he has a story. I don't remember the story what it is, but he talks about like those little winks from the universe where it's I love it. Synchronicities and stuff.
I'm gonna use it because the synchronicity, I use that and I see it, and that's what I believe when I see angel numbers and when I'm thinking about something and then somebody comes and talks to me about the same thing, or I see the synchronicities. Like for example, like yesterday, I sent Chels out of nowhere. She's like, "Hey, look, what about what is your TikTok audience? Is there like English speaking or not?" I was like, "Oh, there's a mix." And she's like, "Well, you want to go live with me?" And I'm like, "Of course!" Like I always want to talk with her. It's always amazing. So then she tells me, I say like, "Hey, topic ideas," and I say about like the can we be flirty and exclusive at the same time? Like I brought that in, and she's like, "You know what? I was just talking with my friend about that topic recently," and I'm like, synchronicity, right? Like those are little things that happen. So I love that. I guess like that little wink from the universe. I love that term. And one thing that Alex Ramosi says is that like he says the work is the way, and I don't know if he said this but somebody else, but it's just basically the same. Is like the process is the destination. So that's one thing that I really like about the podcast is I'm enjoying this so much, and we're recording it and we're gonna distribute it and all that. Great, but like this right now as we're creating it, this is amazing for me. Right. So that's what, and I know that it's like perfect. Like this, I should be doing this thing because the process is the destination. Like I am enjoying this right now, and whatever comes at that moment because of the recording, great, like gravy, and I'll enjoy it at that moment as my present moment. Right now, I only care that I'm enjoying this conversation right now.